of being on the road to burnout. And how do we know that we are on the road to burnout? Very, very captivating topic. Just so, three warning signs. Uh, how do you know that you might be on your way to burnout? Well, first of all, it's quite an obvious, but you love what you do. You love your job, you love your business, perhaps. You just love it. You love it to the extent of spending long hours um, being engaged with that, at the same time ignoring the needs of your own body, of yourself, of your health, and sometimes of others. It might be your family, it might be your children, it might be your friends. You are just ignoring other areas of your life. So it is a first warning sign, basically having no boundaries, not knowing how to say no, and just focusing on your work. It can basically be quite overwhelming because, if you are having the job that you love, maybe you have been just promoted, you became a manager or CEO or whatever, and you're so proud, and you have the feeling that you have to show and prove yourself that you are worthy of that position, that you are good enough. So you are basically, and people just ask you, oh, since you are now the manager, or if you're now the boss, can you do this? Can you do that? And you don't know how to say no. So having no boundaries is a warning sign number one of towards recognizing burnout. Another sign is basically having no strategy. What does it mean? Yes, you will have at times more workload. You might be facing with some unexpected job demands, and the important thing is knowing how to deal with it. So having a strategy of being organized, of managing the tasks. So basically knowing how to structure your day, how to manage your calendar, how to set priorities, which technique of time management to use. There's so many things that you can use. It's just not only knowing it, but actually having the practical approach, just trying it out. It might be the technique of oats, so the outcomes first, and setting up your calendar based on outcomes. It might be another technique, whatever will work for you. There's the Pareto rule, there is the Parkinson law, there's all the things that you can implement. So staying organized with your tasks, and also managing your emotions, recognizing, being in touch with yourself, with your body. If you're like, out of touch, out of sync, I work with burned out professionals, and do you know how it works? You ask a person, so what do you like to eat? What is your favorite food? And they don't know. You ask them, what did you eat last night for dinner? They don't remember. So they're totally out of touch with the basic needs. They don't know how many hours they sleep. They don't know what hours they are the most productive, or like how their brain works when it's most efficient, etc. It's just they don't know. They're out of sync. So really, maybe taking a step back and looking into these things can help you recognize where you are, and checking if you are not on the road to burnout. And third warning sign would be the limiting beliefs, and how will you recognize them in such scenario? Well, basically, is expecting too much from yourself, and being afraid of disappointing others, and constantly proving, proving to others, proving to yourself that you know that you are worthy of the position, that you are a good investment for the company to give you a raise or bigger salary or a position or whatever. So just proving, proving, proving. And some people are just, they don't have, if you have to prove, that means that you are uncertain. I came across a girl on a clubhouse. Every single discussion, every single room she was in, she was constantly highlighting, "I am psychologist, I am psychologist, I am psychologist." Every single thing, all the time. And somebody who is psychologist and is, okay with it, is certain, doesn't have any ambiguous feelings about it, doesn't have to constantly say, "I am psychologist." So what are your limiting beliefs? What stops you from setting the boundaries, from looking after, your health, from being assertive? If you really dig deep, you will find the underlying beliefs, and it might be the fear of, "Oh, I'm going to lose my job." Why? "Oh, because I'm not sure if I'm good enough. Maybe I'm not as good as others who are waiting there in the queue." And it's sometimes, or probably more than sometimes, oftentimes, it's just not true. Okay, so we need to recognize, important thing about burnout is that it comes in several stages. And the first stages are, totally unexpected. It doesn't just look like burnout, but it's the start of burnout. So how does it look? The phase number 1 is the honeymoon phase, and these are the phases based on the psychological study from Winona State University. So honeymoon phase is basically, showing the strong commitment to your work, spending a lot of hours, compulsion to prove yourself. Okay, there is a job satisfaction, you're very proud of it, you're very engaged, and you talk about it at every occasion. And you're ready to accept the additional responsibility, because you want to prove yourself, because you enjoy it, because it's new, because it's exciting. So we, at that stage, it's really, really important to realize, like, are we setting the boundaries? Are we having healthy balance? How are other areas of our life looking like? What else? We're very optimistic. We cannot say no. We're just like, creative and engaged and working for many, many hours. And I know I've been there. I've been working for, like, on average 10, 12 hours a day. I've been sleeping 5 hours. And there comes a time when your body catches up with you, and it shows up, and different things happen, and that you just wonder, like, "Oh, why suddenly my entire face is swollen?" you know the body just shows you that, "Listen, I need a rest. You were been neglecting me, now watch." Okay, so things are happening like that. So that's the first stage of burnout, and it's already full of red flags, so you can be mindful about it. Now, second stage, what do we have here? The second stage, you start to notice the changes in your behavior. So your body starts sending you those signals that I've mentioned. Yeah, it might be stomachache, it might be a headache, it might be something to do with your face, like, for example, getting swollen. It might be problems with digestion. Maybe you're suddenly bloated, or your digestive system doesn't work properly. You start to feel empty inside, and it's just like, there's nothing there. If you are not working, you just feel like, exploited. You start self-doubting, then you start thinking, oh, I cannot cope. What's wrong with me? Am I good enough? Am I right for the job? I mean, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you just start being sad and pessimistic. You start developing pessimistic outlook, and if you had these underlying limiting beliefs somewhere there, they get even stronger. You get deeper into that stage of, let's say, if you're thinking, oh, I'm not competent enough. At this stage where you have, like, even more stress and even more worries, you start really questioning yourself, and your self-worth is just going down. You just feel like you're, nobody, you're not good enough, and whatever. So yeah. And what else? And the next stage is the permanent stress. So so basically, we have the level of stress persists, and it stays longer and longer with you. And you notice that you are chronically exhausted, that you don't have any hobbies, or even if you do, they don't bring you any joy. You cannot really disconnect from constantly thinking about work, so you develop this a cynical attitude towards work. You stop caring. You start talking badly about the different aspects of your job, maybe your colleague, or maybe the project you're working on, or maybe the people you're responsible for, or whatever. You start being cynical. It's terrible. And the physical sickness, the physical signals are even more profound. So this is basically, and you start running away. You stop engaging with people. You don't seek help because you just don't know what's happening. And the last stage is the of the habitual burnout, is basically chronic sadness and depression. And that's really the sign that you should get professional help, because you realize that's it. There's nothing else you can do. You cannot help yourself, and when you don't even have any motivation or energy to get out of bed, and your depression is good. And why depression and anxiety is so dangerous? According to the studies, what happens to the brain? The combination of anxiety and depression causes permanent changes in your brain. I'm just looking for the study so that I give you the right data. But basically, it's the changes it causes are very similar to the changes being caused by the Alzheimer's disease. So your brain, got all the data. Right. So the okay, I don't want to use all those fancy terms, so let me just get the facts right. Right. So amygdala, the part of our brain that is responsible for the processing of primarily fear, but also other emotions, that is responsible for this flight and fight mode, expands. Okay, this is the permanent change in your brain. And the part that is responsible for rational thinking, which is the hippocampus shrinks. So, if you develop burnout, it can basically lead to permanent changes in your brain. And, sometimes they are quite difficult to be reversed, and they take a lot if only they can be fixed. So it's better to protect yourself, to be aware, to learn more about the consequences of burnout, and learn about the warning signs, and stay alert, and look after your well-being, rather than face all those negative consequences. One thing I wanted to also highlight, because burnout sometimes can look like just like depression. So how do we know? How do we know what is burnout, what is depression, right? Um, in depression, basically the common factors that are happening are the extreme exhaustion, feeling down, and reduced performance, right? And the same things you will notice when you are burned out. So how do you actually know that you're experiencing a burnout? So on top of the exhaustion, depletion of energy, feeling down, and reduced productivity, you will also experience low self-esteem. The thing that I've been talking about, so like really self-doubting, really, uh, digging into your core false beliefs. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? What's wrong with me? How come I cannot perform? If you start questioning yourself like this, then you get an idea that, wow, it might be a burnout. Okay, you're feeling hopeless. You're just feeling hopeless. You are not in a position to use the resources, like for example, asking your colleagues for help, sharing your problems maybe with your family, talking to specialists. You just feel hopeless, and you just don't want to do anything about it. And also, another thing is suicidal thoughts and tendencies. So if you start considering suicide because you just cannot cope with the demands of your work and life, that's definitely a burnout. And I think one thing also I wanted to mention, that we've been talking a lot about work, but also there is something like a relationship burnout. People are basically experiencing that when it comes to their relationships, or sometimes we also talk about parental burnout. So it's not that it only concerns our work area. So I think it's quite an interesting point, something to have in mind. All right, my dears. That would be all for this Wellbeing Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, for being with me online. And if you need anything, if you have any question, any comment, just drop me a line. You can visit my website at dealwithculture.com, or my social media. And I'll see you next week on Thursday.